We are celebrating today, the day that this episode airs, 5,000 days of crisp. I'm Michael Mogill, founder and CEO of Crisp, the nation's #1 law firm growth company. I've built my business through practice, not theory. Crisp started with just $500 to my name and has grown to over 8 figures in revenue over the last few years, earning a spot on the Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies in America. Our approach has been to take everything we've learned about generating massive growth within our own organization and help the country's most ambitious and committed law firm owners do the same for theirs. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with innovative market leaders from the legal industry and beyond to learn from those who thrive in the face of adversity, challenge the status quo, and define what it means to be a true game changer.
This is Jessica, head of coaching strategy at Crisp, and today marks a massive milestone. The 5,000th day Crisp has been in business, and we're celebrating with a special edition AMMA. We're going back to day one and pulling back the curtain on every era of the business and sharing all the lessons learned from all the wins and challenges in between. This is a deep dive into 5,000 days of Crisp.
This is coming from the guy who used to sell the videos, shoot the videos, edit the videos, project manage the videos, run the payroll, every single role in this business I've done. And if that's your goal, you're listening, you're saying, oh, I want to do that forever. Well, maybe you can scale your ambition beyond that.
That's coming up on the Game Changing Attorney podcast.
All right, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Welcome to a very, very special episode of the Game Changing Attorney podcast. This was your idea, Jessica.
I'm so excited.
And we are celebrating today, the day that this episode airs, 5,000 days of crisp. We've had this count up in our office for the past few years, where it's, every day, every moment matters, counting up the days. And today we've crossed 5,000 days, which is over 13 years since day one of Crisp. So I know you wanted to talk about that, maybe some of the things that we've learned over that period of time. But before we get into that, I want to thank you because we're also coming off a surprise 40th birthday weekend. So you threw me a surprise 40th birthday party. It was amazing. Now, I turned 40 back in December, but on Christmas Day, it turns out that's probably not the best day to do a party. We invite, all your friends from across the country. So decided to do it in February, and it was amazing. Like I knew it was happening, like we were going to go, but I didn't know who was coming or what the food would be, if there'd be any entertainment, and it was amazing. I will talk about some of that because there's aspects of that we're never going to talk about. It was only the people that were there to experience it that they would know. First and foremost, the food was amazing. Somehow you were able to get my favorite restaurant in Atlanta, maybe the favorite restaurant in the country, to cater it, Atlas, and their whole team basically moved into our office, set up a kitchen in one of the training rooms, like just full out, like Michelin star restaurant. It was incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
The food was amazing.
The food was phenomenal. I knew right away as soon as I saw that, I was like, look, even if someone didn't want to come to this, or they had to bring their spouse, and they're like, why am I going, right? And they hated my guts, they'd at least enjoy the food, and they were going to have a great night. So
walk into a caviar bump.
I mean, you're getting caviar bumps, right?
Plural, yeah.
Yes. They're walking around, passing that stuff out. I mean, it is incredible. We had tomahawk steaks, we had lobster tails, and I don't know, some people might hear this and be like, oh yeah, it must be nice, but listen, motherfucker, if you knew where we came from, how this all began, which we'll talk about in day one of the 5,000 days, I mean, we probably had a better chance of setting up a civilization on Mars than we did of doing caviar bumps, right? So,
and also, because you won't say this, but again, you have a Christmas birthday. You very rarely get to actually celebrate your birthday. So I capitalized on this.
I don't think I've had a birthday party. I don't know, maybe since like middle school.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just looking back
decades. So I was
decades.
like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right.
Yeah. And then, okay, so there's that. Then let's talk about the guests. This is incredibly humbling. People flying in from across the country. We had people from Arizona, California, Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, just all over. Like, our friends came out. And the thing that I love about this is these were friends of ours because I said the other day, like, I need new friends. Like I need like horns on my head or something like that, right? Like, it's very, very hard to expand the circle because so many of our friends, they were with us before any of this, and they've been a part of the journey on the way up. And just both friends outside of Crisp and even Crisp team members and Crisp clients and so on that believed in us. And those are very genuine relationships that it's those people coming out. And then you also, I think there's something to be said about being in a room full of people that don't resent you and want to see you succeed and root for you. Sometimes look, it's different now. It's hard to make new friends.
I always say it. Most of that room, they were at my 30th and my 40th, and now your 40th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And they were there when we cut the ribbon at Crisp HQ, and then they were there probably very, very, very early on. I mean, some of them were there where, when I was in first grade. Okay.
Yeah, that too.
So.
Yeah, Denver. Yeah, people coming in from Denver
yep,
too. Yeah.
Yep. So that was cool. And then we had a little surprise entertainment, which blew my mind. Okay. Now, I like various comedians. Sometimes we want to go to comedy shows, but when you got a 9 p.m. bedtime, it's hard to go to a comedy show, especially when the headliner doesn't come on until 10 or 11 p.m. And also, there's certain comedians that just don't really come to Atlanta, right? I mean, maybe every few years. And one that I've been a huge fan of, read his book, and just big fan of his podcast is Joey Diaz. I remember floating this probably a year ago or 2 years ago when I read the book. Was it 2 or 3 years ago?
Something like that. 2 or 3 years now. Yeah.
And Joey Diaz comes out. And I'm like, what? I could not believe it. Joey comes out. I think this is the only time he was talking about. This is the first time he's ever done a non-comedy club, like he would call a corporate event, right? Like the first time. I mean, corporate event. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call we did a corporate event, but it's
relative.
We booked him specifically for the party, and he was absolutely hilarious. So, just an incredible night. I said I wasn't going to drink, but I had one drink, and I've been recovering ever since.
I mean, it has taken me all week simply because we stayed up until midnight.
I mean, yeah, it's I was asking ChatGPT, I was like, listen, am I this fragile? I had one drink, and we stayed up a few hours late, right? And it said, no, your body is perfectly optimized, and this threw the whole thing out of balance. And it asked, is it worth it? I said, yes. Yes, I would do that every single time. So, we've been recovering for about 3-4 days now, and we'll get back on rhythm. But an incredible night. Thank you. Just kind of looking back, I gave a little kind of a thank you. Wasn't really a speech, right? Because the last thing people want when they're sitting there enjoying their, lobster tails and tomahawks is someone to go up there and give a 20-minute monologue, right? Unless you're Joey Diaz, right?
Well, yeah.
But I just was so grateful and so appreciative for everybody that came out, and then also kind of reflecting on the 20s and the 30s and now going into the 40s of just how things change and how our perspective changes, how our priorities change, what stays the same as well. So I shared some of that at the 40th and I cracked a little joke that will not be repeated on this podcast.
It will not.
But it was a great way to break the ice. So speaking of which, let's transition to the AMMA. This is a little bit different because these aren't questions that other people have submitted this time. This is us talking about the first 5,000 days of Crisp and the lessons we've learned along the way, regardless of what stage you are in the business, whether you're at 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures, or higher. I mean, there's just different lessons along the journey as you go from hustler to manager to leader to CEO to owner, etc. And hopefully some of the insights we share could be helpful to you no matter what stage of business you're in, where your firm is at, really, where your business is at, quite frankly. With that, if you get any sort of value from this podcast, and if it makes you laugh, makes you cry, whatever it might be, if you can please share the show with a friend. This helps us reach more people. Or alternatively, you can go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Let others know what you think of the podcast. Helps us get great guests on the show as well. And with that, Jessica, I'll turn it over to you. Let's talk about the first 5,000 days.
5,000. It's so crazy. I remember when this idea came actually a few, probably 100 days ago. I was just looking at the counter and I was like, you know what, Michael? We're approaching 5,000 days. We should do something about that. That's really awesome. And when you think about 5,000, I mean, it's over 13 years. So the way I really position this is to kind of look at this in 1,000-day chunks and looking at it in different segments of this journey. So I want to start off, obviously, with day 1 to 1,000. So we're looking at around 2012 to 2015. And just tell me, from your point of view, what were those first 1,000 days like?
I mean, they were a complete blur. It's
I think I blacked out.
I call those days the dark ages, right? Because this is before anything had existed. I mean, this was just I had a vision, but it was nowhere near what the business is today. At the time, it was just a video company. We didn't even have a focus. We weren't working with lawyers yet. It was just, look, anybody who needed a video, it didn't matter to me if you were, the beef jerky outlets or if you were someone's soccer tournament or bar mitzvah or whatever. If you needed a video, we would show up. I always said we, right? When it was just me, I didn't have any employees. And the first 1,000 days, when I say it's the dark ages, it's just there's no structure whatsoever. There's no systems. I have no idea what I'm doing at all. Like, I don't know how to be a great leader. I don't know how to market. I don't know sales. I don't know finances. I didn't know anything, right? And it's a lot of you're doing things and you're making certain decisions, and then you're seeing the outcomes of said decisions, and that's really your feedback loop. Like, you have no idea of how do I improve my decision-making process. There's not really a framework there. It's just like, I'm going to go on gut instinct. Like, what do I think? And I could work hard. I would pride myself on the fact that, hey, I could work 80 to 100 hours a week, or I don't need a whole lot of sleep, or I could be effective, or so I thought, on 3 hours of sleep a night, and I could outwork anyone, right? And if you're listening and you've said things like this, I could outwork anyone. This is a badge of honor I think you wear for the early years. And I think later on, when we'll talk about it as we get to some of the later years, it's no longer the competitive advantage of how hard you can work, right? So when I hear entrepreneurs today say, I could outwork anyone, I'm a little disappointed because I think, okay, that's not very leverageable in terms of just what you can do, right? Because if you got a team of 100 or several hundred people, maybe 1,000 people, and you are the hardest working person in that place, then how do you scale, right? Yeah, so how do you scale that? So let's think about the first 1,000 days. Started the business 2012, $500 to my name. Was originally working out of the back room of a dental office. My buddy Justin, he had a back room that was going to be built into an operatory and had not built it out yet. Said I could rent that room from him. And there was an Office Depot across the street. Bought a desk, bought a chair, and we were in business. They had their practice. They were open from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So once I walked in, past all the people getting cleanings and it's a dental office, I get to the end and walk into my office, and that was crisp.
Yeah.
Right. But it was just me. And I wouldn't do meetings there because that would be extremely awkward. Can you imagine someone saying, hey, I want to meet with you about your videos? And you're saying, okay, yeah, just walk through the dental office to the back room, and then we'll sit down and have our meeting. No, the meetings would happen at a Starbucks. So what would happen was we'd meet up at Starbucks. I was there all day because they had free Wi-Fi, right? I order like a little GTL, green tea lemonade, and I'd sit there sipping on that thing. I'd have a meeting with a prospective client. Then we'd walk back to our cars. I'd wait for them to drive off, and then I'd go right back in for the next meeting. So that was the early days. Eventually we got our first office that wasn't in a dental office. It still has, a bit of nostalgia, that whole area, because there was a lot of like startup type businesses there and like photography studios and that sort of thing. And I think the landlord just felt sorry for me. So the first office, I remember the lease was like $1,200 a month, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to pay $1,200 a month? Like, how many videos do I need to sell? Right. So the goal was always to like sell enough videos to at least pay for the office lease. And this is where I was like, okay, we got to get one more legit. This is, why we have an office. And then you remember this distinctly. I think this is in 2013, 14, when you came on board.
Yeah, 14.
2014, you and I were together for, how long were we together? A year or two?
Yeah.
And you were obviously very successful. I was acting like I was successful. I was saying, look, I got this company, we're working with Coca-Cola, working with these brands, right? Because I didn't want you to think I was this complete like scrub. And then eventually I gained the courage to be vulnerable and say, I have no idea what I'm doing, but you're really good at like processes and operations. Can you come in and help me for 30 days? And just put some of the groundwork in place. And can you describe, so I'm going to turn it over to you. Can you describe what you walked into?
I walked into no structure, absolutely no structure. There were about 7 people. It was like the wild, wild west, if I'm being honest. People may show up, they might not show up. Definitely weren't showing up on time. It was kind of a come and go. There were no processes, no stand. I just remember you had hired someone, and I was like, okay, well, how are you like training him, or what are you doing? And you're like, just put him on the phones. And I was like, he doesn't know anything. Like, I don't know what you're doing here. And so kind of control Z'd all of that.
He said he would work hard.
Yeah, of course. He said he would work hard. So we hired him. So I came in and kind of bulldozed all of that and None of those people are here today. And we kind of rebuilt from there.
Oh, yeah.
So my other question, though, for kind of this era when, you never really saw, you call it the dark ages. It was hard. There was really no proof of like, hey, what's going to work out? Or is this going to work out? Is this going to pan out? How'd you keep going?
Well, so
Stubbornness.
stubbornness for sure, and childhood trauma, I'm sure. Being the son of immigrants and a first-generation immigrant myself. When I think about entrepreneurship, which I didn't even know that's what I was doing at the time. Like Shark Tank wasn't a thing. I wasn't trying to do this to have business cards or to be a so-called entrepreneur. This is just like a pattern in my life where you have this idea and then you figure out like, how do I scale this? Is there a market for it? Is this valuable? Like, is there a value exchange where we provide X services and get Y in return, and can it help people? And that's all it was. And you just started one video to two videos to 3 to 300 to 3,000 to 30,000. You know what I mean? It's just kind of it grew, in that sense. What kept me going was I realized at a relatively young age that I was unemployable, meaning that I could work somewhere. Like I grew up waiting tables like every single summer, like all throughout, like even college. Even there I was waiting tables and I could do the work, but the idea of working for somebody was just a foreign concept to me because I felt like I had no control over my future. And there was this movie, some of you may remember this, I think it was in the 90s it came out, maybe the 90s, maybe early 2000s, Armageddon. Yeah, so this was, I think Armageddon and Deep Impact came out at the same time, the same kind of movie, but like Armageddon was way better, right? This is like Bruce Willis, Ben Affleck, you got this asteroid heading towards Earth, and then we got to get these oil drillers somehow to learn to become astronauts so they could fly, basically take off on a rocket into space, land on this asteroid, drop a bomb in this thing, and blow it up before it hits Earth. Like imagine somebody wrote this script and, you've got the producer saying, yes, right? Will you sign off on this? Here's your budget, right? And it was a phenomenal movie. But I remember there's a line from Bruce Willis when they ask him, they're like, why are you up here, right? Like you're an oil driller. Like why wouldn't you just train the astronauts to drill into an asteroid? Like why don't you teach them your skill as opposed to you learning how to be an astronaut, right? Like an oil driller learning to be an astronaut versus an astronaut learning to be an oil driller, right? And he says that he's up there because he doesn't trust anybody else to do it. And that was very much me in terms of betting on myself. Like I would rather live in a world where if I failed and the whole business went under, that I would know 100% that was my fault, right? Like I would have nobody to blame. But if I was working for someone and they made certain decisions that ultimately, I could be working really hard, but the business goes under. Well, that felt to me like I wouldn't have that control. So people say risk and all that, but I didn't think about it as a risk.
No.
I thought the risk was not doing it. So that's probably what kept me going, of just the fact that if it didn't work out or if something wasn't right, it was always my fault. Like I could always, maybe they'd call that extreme ownership now, but that's how I always felt because I'm like, look, it's my idea, it's my decisions, I hire the players, etc. So when something's not going right, it's because I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that. So that was the first 1,000 days. And then, the kind of, I don't know if this is like coincidence or what, but like shortly after you came on board, we hit, $1 million in revenue, which never did that before, right? So hit 7 figures in revenue. And we're feeling pretty good. And that kind of took us, from 2012 to 2015. 2015 is when we hit that first $1 million in revenue, in annual revenue. I was like, $1 million. Can you believe it? It was like Richie Rich.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We were at that point, we were buying mansions and water slides and I'm just kidding. It was just like a random day.
It was.
It was like a
really
Tuesday
was.
or a Wednesday. And we're like, all right, I think we crossed $1 million. Great. And we went back inside and kept going. Yeah. So, I could talk more about that first 1,000 days. And we could do an entire podcast on it. But I will conclude just by saying that it just was defined very much by grit of just working my ass off. And it wasn't like waiting for the right time or when I'm ready or when this happens or that. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that at the time, like film was transitioning to digital, like digital SLR cameras, that would change things, that social media was going to become a thing, that video online would become a thing.
We had no idea.
I just came in every day and I worked hard and I worked until, my eyes shut. And then I woke up again and did it again. And we did that for the first 1,000 days.
Sure did. We also did it for the next 1,000. So from days 1,001 to 2,000. So this is around 2015, as you mentioned, to 2017. And we had gotten here through sheer grit. I mean, it is funny when you say dark ages. Like, I think I blacked out part of these periods. My friends actually laugh. They always are like, yeah, you kind of disappeared for a decade.
Yeah.
That's where I disappeared. So what would you say then were maybe some of the biggest milestones in this second 1,000 days?
Second 1,000 days. I mean, health insurance,
Oh, yeah.
401k.
Yeah.
I remember the day I signed up and I got us the 401k plan for the company. And I was like, okay.
We're real now.
Now we're legit. We got they're like, okay, do you want to do a match? And I'm like, what's that mean? They're like, oh, you can match dollar for dollar up to a percentage of somebody's salary. And I'm like, all right, what's the highest it can go? And they're like, 4%. I'm like, we're doing 4% match. Now, fast forward,
Big dog now.
10 years later, and I'm like, hey, can we dial that back a little bit? Because now it's a lot of match every year. But that was really exciting because all these other companies had benefits, right? Like when someone would sit down and interview with us and they're like, what's your benefits plan? And I'm like, what are you talking about benefits plan? Like, they're like, do you have health insurance? I'm like, we can't afford health insurance. Do you have 401k? I'm like, working on that, right? So this is where we started, to be able, like, I think it was very exciting to be able to start investing in those things. This is where we moved into a new office. This was the second office.
Yeah.
And this was on, what was it? DeFore Hills.
Yes.
That one. That was like cool little office. And it was just us over there pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
There was like a furniture store right across the street, but
what was this one, like 4,000 square feet? I just remember being in there and be like, oh my God,
first
we're
one
never
was like
fill
800 square feet. The second one was 4,000. We moved in, I think we had like 13, maybe 16 people.
Yeah.
And I remember we walked in, it was like, this is the first office where we did the build out, right? Like we worked when we were moving in and signing the lease, they were like, oh, we're going to make this look cool. Like it's going to be a cool office. I remember we had our sign out front. This is ridiculous. This is like, you still know you're like in the early stages of amateur hour because the construction company that we work with, so they give you these different bids, and we got 3 bids for the architectural plan to do the same thing, and like one was twice as much as the other ones, and then one was like 3 times as much. So we went with the cheapest option, right? Huge mistake. I remember like watching them like put up our sign. They spelled the word crisp wrong, right? They put the dot from the I on the R, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how do you spell? I mean, there's a rendering. It's a word. How do you spell that word wrong? Right. Anyway.
And then we walked in one day and it fell.
Yeah.
From the very. It was like opening day or second day that we're in there, and I walk in and it was like crisp was on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, it just was. Well, yeah, we thought we were big dogs, but we weren't. And that was a time where I was very much. I mean, we had our office in Atlanta, but I was like traveling salesman. I had like this giant Pelican case that I would put one of those like Mac monitors into, and like the entire booth, and I would do like basically go to all these different conferences, these legal conferences. I'd do a dozen, sometimes 2 dozen a year. It was all pay to play. It was basically once all the main sessions were done, and they would start to do like breakouts.
Yes.
They'd give me a room with like, sometimes it'd be like 4, 5, 6 people. One time I had one room with one person, my whole presentation to one person. And I think she was just being nice because she felt bad for me, right? She's like, there's nobody here. And I'm like, she's like, are you speaking next? And I'm like, yep. I mean, I remember that time. This is where I was never a professional speaker. I've never had any formal speaker training. People today, they say, oh, you're a great speaker. I mean, I appreciate that, but I had a lot of reps, and I've had everything imaginable go wrong speaking. I mean, I've had slides not work. I've had videos not play. I ripped my pants one time going up on stage.
You did.
It was in Utah.
Yeah.
You remember? I was going up on stage because I like running up. I was like, it's going to be kind of cool if I like jump up on the stage.
Yeah.
Huge mistake in a suit.
Yeah.
Right? Tore my pants. And
one time we were in Boston, there was no screen at all. Remember? We tried to like rig a TV on a.
You're going to make me mad now thinking about that, because we signed up with a conference. I won't name them here, but they're like, yeah, it's going to be tons of like soloed small firms. And, this is early stages, right? And they're like, you're going to be able to speak to every single one of them. And this seemed like at the time, like this is our sweet spot. Perfect. And then days are going by at this conference, and we're there for like a few days, and all the sessions are happening. People are going home, and the conference is getting like thinning out. Then on the last day, they're like, oh, it's your time to speak. And I'm like, where? And they're like, at the breakfast. And I'm like, okay, where's everybody? Like, they were all drinking the night before, so there was like only a handful of people. And then I'm like, okay, cool. So we can be adaptable. What about the slides, right? And they're like, we don't have a screen.
No.
So we had to take the monitor off our booth.
Yes.
And then our like cinematographer who was there with us, because we also decided to like sponsor the event and film the event, held the screen in his hands, plugged into a wall while I clicked through slides, and no one gave a shit at all. Like, they were just like, look, man, I want to eat this omelet. I don't really care about video, right? Or the power of video, right? It just, but I remember that night. Now, the good thing came of that, because I remember going up to the room. Nobody knows this except for you. And I was just so defeated. Like, people don't see this side, right? They see, oh, I just spoke at this conference, and someone will post a picture and it looks like a cool, like, even though there's nobody there, they just like take a close up and it looks like they're being a thought leader or something. We didn't have $5,000 to invest, and we spent $5,000 on this conference plus the booth. Half the people I spoke to were retiring that year.
Yes.
I'm like, what? Like, this is not what we expected. And I remember coming up, and this is the first time at a conference we didn't bring on a single new client. And I felt like, I mean, I would always, every night, I'd always go up. If I ever got business cards, I'm following up with every single person. I'm setting meetings. Oh, yeah. It was just like, it was just a grind, constant, like never ending. We weren't going out to like dinners. We weren't going out like drinking, like nothing, none of that stuff, ever. And we didn't make a single sale, and I was so defeated. I was so mad. And I remember, like, there was that night we came up with what we would later trademark as the best cases go to the best marketers. Yep. So, like, one good thing came from that, and that we got our trademark.
Yes.
And it was experiences like that. I mean, there was another, I remember I spoke at a mastermind where this guy would go up and sell these people for 2 straight days. And after they had, like, spent all their money, then I got to go up and talk about video.
Yes.
But I always came back with at least one.
Always
at least one.
The Boston one's only one.
There was a lot of that. There was us really kind of honing in on finding our niche. I think in those years, from the second 1,000 days was us really dialing in on legal and focusing on legal. Because before we were just very broad, we were focused on a lot of different verticals. There was really no specialization. And here's where we like leaned in on lawyers in particular. This is where we had that sweet spot. It was extremely rewarding. And I mean, it happened by accident. One law firm led to the next. And what we saw was essentially, there's super saturated, super commoditized market, firms struggling to stand out and differentiate. We were really good at helping them stand out and differentiate. And a lot of the things that they needed, these were like good people that simply, consumers can't tell one lawyer apart from another in many cases. But if you could tell their story and communicate their why, you can give them a fighting chance that they could compete against the large traditional advertisers like the billboard lawyers, the TV, at the time, kind of the Goliaths, if you will. So that was extremely rewarding. Like, we had that niche focus, launched the first referral program. We placed another big bet. We gave away the first Tesla, the Tesla Model S. People are like, how did you do that? We went to the dealership, wrote them a check, and they give you one, right? Well, they don't give you one, but they give you an exchange for the check.
Yes.
And I mean, that was terrifying. I remember like any amount of money we had saved up. At that point, we saved up $77,000, gone. Like, that was straight into the Tesla. And we thought that if we gave a car away, because at the time people were giving away like Amazon gift cards, iPads, whatever, like, what if we give a car away? We were a small company. We didn't have a ton of resources. We're competing against a lot of big players. Maybe this will help us get noticed.
Right.
And the best clients come from your existing clients. So this was a referral program. I remember we put it out. I'm like, this can be a huge hit. And 30 days in, not a single person referred.
Eyes are twitching.
I thought this was a huge mistake. Exactly. I was like, oh my God, like, this is, a fool and his money will soon be parted, right? And yet we found a way to make it work. People just didn't believe us. It was so outlandish. That was the lesson learned. They're like, dude, you're not giving a car away. So then we had to film the car, and we had to like look. They're like, oh, okay. So you're telling me I can refer someone to Crisp, and they become a client, and I get a token, and you're telling me that you're going to draw from a raffle, and I could win a car? Yes. So we did that, gave the car away in April of 2017 at the AVA Lawyeronomics Conference. And this was a time where we were everywhere. We were at every conference. And just, if there was a legal conference, we were there.
Yes.
In some capacity. We were next to 50,000 booths and in the exhibit hall. And people are coming up to the booth. They're like, why should I work with you? And I would say like, well, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a video, 30 frames per second, motherfucker, right? And I'm just kidding. But like, at the time, you had to sell the video, right? Because that's what we were doing at the time. And also actually during this time, we started to pivot from just video to video and marketing, because we would create these great videos that would help our clients stand out, differentiate, tell their stories. But on the marketing front, a lot of them are like, well, how do I get my content out there? Like, I put the video on the website, like, what do I do with this thing? And we're like, okay, we got to get it out there. And there's this thing up and coming, social media, right? And I remember it's just the wildest thing back in 2017. People were looking at me, when I mentioned, hey, I think you should consider advertising on social media. They're like,
what?
You got horns on your head.
Yeah.
They're like, no. Like, you're like, people actually watch videos on social media. I'm like, yes. Like, have you heard this thing, YouTube, and even on Facebook and in the feed? And it was just a huge uphill battle. But I'll tell you, the early adopters, they were getting so much reach and so much just consumption because there just wasn't a whole lot of competition at the time. You're getting views for less than a penny. Like, I mean, this is the golden age at the time. So we went all in on social. So we had the video side for, differentiation, telling your story, and then a social stack on just being your firm everywhere. So when somebody went online, they opened up their laptop, their PC, whatever, their iPad maybe, that they would see an ad from the lawyer, right? And we could like have very localized targeting. Facebook ads and Facebook Pixel at the time was just ripe for abuse, right? Like it was just wild what you could get away with at the time. Like, you could target by like every single like demographic attribute. Like, I mean, it just like later there'd be privacy laws, but at the time there were none.
It's the Wild West.
So it was just the Wild West, and you capitalize on it then. So that was the second 1,000 days.
Yes. All right. So to move into the next 1,000 days, so we are now looking at the end of 2017 through 2020. So this one, I would say, probably one of the more volatile periods, but I think it's also probably one of our favorite times. So day 2001 to 3000, things were finally moving. Every day was exciting. Like, we were doing something new every single day. So what milestones really stand out for you here?
So this time, this is like the 3,000s, right? Like, we basically went to the first 1,000, the second 1,000, this is the third 1,000 days. So this is, if you ever watch any sort of movie where there's like the training montage, like right now we're watching like Kung Fu Panda, that, with our daughter. And, there's a training montage where somebody starts and they're not very good. And then during the montage, now they start to hit the rhythm and like everything is rolling. And this is like our montage. Like that third 1,000 days is where like everything clicks. It is just, the momentum was insane.
Faster than we were ready for it.
So much was happening during that time. It was almost like everything before had built up to that. And then we started to hit like this critical mass. And during that period of time, this is where we shifted. I mentioned that I was traveling salesman and I was going to all these different conferences and legal conferences. And we shifted from other people's audiences to building our own. And we decided to host our own conference, the Game Changer Summit. So this happened for the first time in 2018, the first Game Changer Summit. And it was supposed to be like a legal conference that was fun and exciting and almost like a rock concert.
Right.
In a traditional legal conference, you walk in, they're not known for their excitement. They're not known for the experience. It's largely a networking event. And, when you have people on stage, everybody brings their laptops and they're trying to catch up on their, on their work while someone's speaking, and then they're waiting for the happy hour. But at our event, you walk in and you got this giant LED screen and you've got like this line array sound system that like Pitbull would use or Taylor Swift would use. And it's just rocking and you got a DJ going and it's like, okay, this is a different kind of event.
Yes.
And the food is amazing. It's like my 40th birthday, right? Lobster tails, tomahawks.
Not quite.
Right? Not quite, but you get the idea. It's still like a 5-star experience.
Yes.
You got continental breakfast. Continental, right? You got a nice warm breakfast, not a cold breakfast. Cold breakfast is cheaper. Give somebody a little cereal and milk. Are you kidding me? Right? It's supposed to be a VIP experience. Right? You got warm food. You got lunch. You got just all around. This was different.
It was different.
And I remember the first conference we had, Chris Voss, the FBI hostage negotiator speak. We had David Goggins,
yes,
the Navy SEAL. And these are speakers that were even from outside the legal industry. Like most conferences you'd go to, and it'd be all lawyers and attorneys, and the same ones you saw at the last conference. And with this one, it was just, we wanted to bring in people from different industries to share their insights. It wasn't like a motivational event, but it was just really inspiration and being able to like bring insights that people had applied in other industries to legal, right? So they could hear them first. I remember we had Gary Vaynerchuk at one of the conferences,
yes,
and so on. So, and then we gave away our grand prize, our car, at our conference.
Yes.
So that was, that's the way to do it. You control the whole experience. What else happened during this time?
Book.
Put out the book, wrote the book, The Game Changing Attorney, which would then later inspire the Game Changing Attorney podcast.
Here we are today.
Yeah, I wrote a book, everything that we had learned, and just essentially whether you're ready to work with CRISP or not, but this was how you could do it yourself. Everything from like the video to the marketing to the brand, etc. It still holds up to this day. Still the #1 book in legal marketing. All these years later, came out in 2018. Still sits #1 on the list on Amazon, right? So that's pretty incredible. Let's see. Started the podcast, and then we at the first conference we introduced the coaching program.
Yep.
So this is how we went from we evolved already from video to marketing. Now it was moving from marketing to coaching because we saw that You can help a firm stand out and differentiate with video. You can help them get noticed and get found with marketing. But then there's everything beneath the iceberg, which is really, how do I be a great leader? How do I build a great team? How do I hire? How do I scale? How do we put operations and systems in place? How do we really build a great practice? Because the last thing somebody needs if they're working 100 plus hours a week is more leads and more marketing, right? They need a way to be able to expand their capacity. And at the time, we were never the first of any of these things. But what I'd found was, especially when we launched, that there wasn't really a room for firms that are growing above $1 million in revenue. Most coaching programs were kind of on the 0 to 250 mark, 250K, solo, small firms just getting started. But there wasn't really a room for those that had started to really kind of build a practice, kind of gritted their way through to $1 million, but then what's next? And they usually found themselves as either the largest firm in those other rooms, or they had no place to go. And that's where we launched the first coaching program in 2018. Then you fast forward to 2020, we made a big decision. I bought this building, so there was time to expand, and I was done leasing offices, right? It's time to acquire a new asset, right? So we bought a 50,000 square foot building in March of 2020, which was an interesting time because it was right when the pandemic hit.
Sign those papers with masks and gloves and all of the things.
Yes, yeah, and this was the vision for it was that, look, we wanted to create like Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, right? Where like law firms could come and bring their teams and have a corporate training center that was state of the art.
Yes.
We also, we were busting at the seams in our old office.
Oh, God.
We were 4,000 square feet. We needed space for our team.
Yes.
It had grown to over 100 people at this point. And we made this massive investment at the time, which, look, nearly everybody in my life, probably except for you and my dad, were like, this is the dumbest thing you're ever going to do. $20 million into an office building during a pandemic when everybody's
Social
going remote,
distancing.
Right? Like, are you crazy? And this ended up being one of the best things we ever did. Right? Complete differentiator, an incredible experience. Also the place where we did our, my 40th birthday party. So that was great. And then pandemic hits. Can I say something? I missed that time. Now I'm not glorifying the pandemic. I'm just saying there was a period of time during that time where it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice. Everyone came together, put our differences aside. Everyone is just, like,
you had to build community.
We're building community. Peloton's taking off. Like, Zoom was a thing. Like, it was kind of nice at first. At first, right?
Yeah.
It went on a little too long, and then you could spot the psychopaths real easy, right? So people would be on like social media. They're like, make sure you spray your packages before you bring them in.
Go on that whole path,
I'm just saying.
Yes.
I learned a lot about people during that time, right? Some still haven't taken the masks off. It's crazy. Anyway, my point is that was the training montage where we started to figure out how to duck, dip, dive, kick. I really like that period of time. It's probably my favorite time in the business.
It really, really is. Was there anything particular in this era that really helped you learn how to deal with uncertainty?
Yes. And it was actually the pandemic, because when that hit, our clients are freaking out. The world's freaking out. We're freaking out. Like, look, we didn't
have the answers.
We didn't train for this. And what I learned was you could really differentiate. You could tell who the survivors are going to be based on how they responded. And I saw a lot of people, and this was independent of their financial status, how big their firm was. Like, some just started shutting offices down, laying people off, and you could just tell, like, they're going to be going into self-preservation mode, right? And then there are those that were trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we lift others up, and how do we grow? How do we succeed together? And what I learned during that time, and even any time of uncertainty, is there's those that go on defense, and they're the ones that usually don't make it, right? Or they go into like decline. And then there's going on offense. And you can adapt to uncertain times when you are imposing your will. When you're on offense, when you're growing, when you're innovating, when you're lifting others up, like, you don't have to worry about survival, because your success becomes a byproduct of everybody else's success. And if you can help somebody else win, right, you'll be fine. And that's exactly what we focused on. That's why we launched the podcast. That's why, like, we were building so much community, like, during that time. I think that's where we did the first Crisp Effect Challenge, like the Client Community Challenge. And I actually believe the Crisp community came together more during that time than any other time.
100%. Yeah.
Same thing with the team. You figured out, like, who's in the foxhole with you.
Yes.
Right? There was this time where I actually think the majority were, but then there were some that were just paralyzed by fear. And I was like, look, I'm not going to put you on the unemployment line, right? Because I just don't think that's the right thing to do, right? As this thing is hit. But if you don't want to, like, help, and you don't want to contribute, then I'm just going to pay you to just get out of the way. Just do whatever you want, man. Play Xbox. But, like, we are trying to navigate our way through this. We're trying to figure this out. This is a very scary time, but let's not be selfish, because a lot of people need us. So that's what I learned during that time.
All right. So moving into our fourth chapter. So now day 3001 to 4000. So 2020 to 2023. So this is where we really started to scale the business. So you hinted at this before. This is like we now had reached 100 team members. And I guess during this period now, the new office, everything, what milestones really stood out to you here?
I mean, for sure, moving into the space, when we built out even the training center side, we had room for, I think it was 300-400 law firm owners. And I remember looking at that thinking, how are we ever going to fill this place up? Because the idea, the vision was that we would have multiple workshops taking place throughout the day and multiple days a month. And, initially we were just doing workshops at hotels and we'd have to rent out conference rooms and bring, AV and but in our space, we had AV built in. We had our own catering kitchen. We didn't have to basically determine when our workshops would be based on a hotel's availability because, we own the space, right? So, and I would say during that time, it really was like in a few short months, like that place is full. And I remember one day I was walking through and we had like 400 law firm owners there. And I'm like, we did it, right? It's like, my first thought was like, we should have built a bigger space, right? I
remember the very first workshop we hosted, and it was a client who had been with us, from the very beginning, who trusted us, was at your party. And he just like had a glass of bourbon, I think, and he was like, feels like home.
Yeah.
Like it was just like we had, I don't know, it was such a core memory there.
We even had our own fragrance developed for the training center, Success.
Yes.
That fragrance. When you walk in, you smell success. That year was a crazy year. We moved into that building. We launched the team training program. We did a virtual conference. We did an in-person conference 2 in 1 year. We've never done that before. That was a choice.
And had a baby.
It had a baby. It's a boy, right? No, it was a girl. But nobody remembers that. You and I were talking about this the other day. There was like the ad for like 1-800-COLLECT.
I think so.
And you can make a collect call.
Yeah.
And it was like, had a baby, it's a boy, right? Anyway, maybe someone listening will remember that.
Yes, perhaps.
But yeah, and then this time I think was just all about scale, right?
Yeah.
Like now, the fire is burning. We pour like gasoline on top. We're like, let's go. Like now we no longer have to fake it till we make it. We made it. So now let's start reinvesting in everything, right? We're reinvesting in the team. We invest in our infrastructure. We invest in our marketing, etc. And then we did something that I think was hubris, totally, at the time. If I know now what I know then, I don't know if I would still do it, but I'm glad we did, which was our conference. So we were doing our, the Game Changer Summit every year since 2018. We'd done a few of them, and we said, like, we need a bigger venue because each time we do one, like, we were outgrowing the previous venue. And I said, well, what if we did one in a Super Bowl stadium, like a legal conference in a Super Bowl stadium? I don't think anybody had ever done that before. And that would involve filling the largest room ever, which would have been thousands and thousands and thousands of people, which no one had ever done either. We figured, well, we've been doing like 2,000 people at our events before, so what's the difference? Just a few more, right? That would end up being one of the most like stressful and challenging years of our entire life.
Yes.
Of doing that event, and we pulled it off. We made it there. There were so many things that happened leading up to that, and it was just extremely stressful. Definitely took years off our life.
Oh, for sure.
Because you walk through that place and you're like, the last thing you want is it's such a big venue, you can't hide, right? Like, if it's empty, it's empty. It's embarrassing. Yes. And then also, we invested, that event was like $8 million, right? So, it was just even to get Mercedes-Benz itself, and then we had to get security, and then they didn't include tables and chairs. We had to do that. Then the catering. Then, there's for thousands of people. It was the world's largest legal wedding, right? Effectively. But we had Arnold Schwarzenegger at this one. We had brought David Goggins back. We had Jesse Cole from the Savannah Bananas. We had Kevin O'Leary. We had a performance by Boyz II Men. We had Ken Jeong backstage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, this was a wild time. Like, you couldn't believe it. We had Camille Vasquez and people looking at us like, oh, they made it. And I remember telling this story because I'm always like the opening keynote speaker of these things.
Right.
And, early on, like when you go on first, people don't know what to expect. So I'm like trying to break the ice, and I'm telling this story about how I was speaking at this conference in the early days in front of a bunch of people eating breakfast, and they weren't really paying attention. And look where we are today. I'm speaking at a conference in front of a bunch of people eating breakfast, right? And nobody laughed. And I'm like, oh, this is going to go great the next 2 days, right? But, people eventually loosened up. It was a big venue. And I will say that in itself was just, it was like the moon landing for Chris, right? Like we'd pulled something off that nobody thought that we could do. the amounts of pride we had in that. I mean, everybody was stretched to their breaking point
Oh,
to do something like that. And I believe if somebody decides to do something like that, like a legal conference in a football stadium, more power to them. Like, I would root for you. I don't think anyone is ever going to do that again.
We definitely will not do it again.
No, because people are like, well, why don't you do another one? What? And it's like, well, we already did that. So why? It's like, why go back to the moon, right? Like, we pulled it off. I would say financially, something like that is just, there's a risk reward between what you invest in an event and also ensuring that you don't completely lose your ass on it. And I think that's about as far as you can take it.
Yeah.
So I would say that is probably one of the single best decisions we ever made that we really didn't make any money on. We didn't lose money, but we definitely did not make a whole lot of money on that thing.
And I think that really ties into one thing I was thinking during this era is brand was now becoming a competitive advantage for Crisp. And I think that event, catapulted that.
It's all brand. I'll tell you what, like, here's the thing. I learned this lesson around that time. You wonder sometimes why you can have like a regular t-shirt and then a shirt with a Nike swoosh and one with the swoosh is like $50 and a regular shirt's $2, right? Brand really matter. Does brand really matter? And I have learned that it's all brand.
It's all brand.
All brand, especially today in the age of like AI and commoditization and saturation. It's like people hire those they know, like, and trust, and that means they got to know you. And if you don't have a brand, one, they probably don't know you, they certainly don't like you, and they certainly don't trust you. All three things solved by brand. And where I would say that our moon landing, this event at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the Game Changer Summit, it was the single best thing we could have done for the brand, in the sense that there were people that were not at the event, and there were people that were at the event, and there were people that just absolutely hated our guts. Hated us. Couldn't stand Crisp, couldn't stand me. But they respected us.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, they bent the knee, right? Because even though those that were not at the event, for years, they were talking about, like, just, I can't believe they did that, right? Because you could be like, I don't really like this Michael Mogill guy. But they're like, but they just did a legal conference in a Super Bowl stadium. Who are these people?
Yeah.
Right? And word spread of that. And at that point, it was just, it was just our own audience. We'd built the largest legal audience. That was it. We had the largest list, the largest database, the highest amount of consumption of our content. It was just, we took souls.
Yeah.
That's the best way I could describe
the best way to say it.
We removed souls from others' bodies, and we eliminated their will to even compete with us at that point because of a stunt like that, right? And I don't want to come across the wrong way, because internally, this almost broke us.
Oh.
This is one of the most challenging things we've ever done, one of the most stressful things we've ever done. And had it not gone well, it could have destroyed us.
Yes.
Right? This is like a moonshot, and I'm very grateful that it did go well, because the next several years we would feel the trailing effects of having pulled something off like that people would reach out to us, like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend that knew another law firm that knew somebody else. Like, it was like the best marketing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
This happened recently, actually. Someone from our daughter's school we were talking to, and never met the guy, anything. He's like, oh my God, I've heard about your event.
Look, you're getting recognized at airports. Like, this is the craziest thing. People who people in other industries, word spread. Like, this is even, I remember when I was interviewing for Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year, they're like, did you really do an event inside of a Super Bowl stadium? And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? It wasn't our Super Bowl, right? Because the Falcons, they hadn't won a Super Bowl. But I did interview Arthur Blank. So that was another cool thing that happened at the event. And you know what? We didn't realize it at the time. I reflect on it now, because, I had someone I looked up to and kind of admired for many years, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the fact that he was willing to speak at the event. And then I remember talking to Jesse Cole, and this is right where the Savannah Bananas were starting to really kind of build, and gain notoriety and really start to take off. And he was so blown away by it. And his journey was kind of parallel to ours at that point. So it just, a lot of things went right. And I'm very, very grateful for it. Those years, that 4,000 years was all about just pedal to the metal, pour the gasoline on, scale.
Yes, which brings us to our last 1,000 days. So really 2023 till today, and really looking at the shift that happened after that event, and really going now from CEO to owner. And what has that really looked like?
Since that time, so this is really 2023 onwards.
Yeah.
Well, a lot has happened. So it's, it's kind of the evolution of the business in the business becoming more mature. So there's the things that you do early on that are defined by grit, and then you pour gasoline and the scale. But this was really where we started to really professionalize the business. This is where we started to really invest in the leadership team. This is where we started to really put like new systems in place. I was kind of shifting from a role where I was, before, I was originally like hustler, grinding, then went to manager, then went to leader, then went to like CEO. And here I was really moving from CEO to owner.
Yeah.
In terms of like where my focus was, in that, we'd put a great leadership team in place. The business scaling, I wasn't involved really in like the day-to-day interactions with like in the deliverables with our clients and so on. Like I would still host a number of workshops. We still do the podcast, of course, but the business, I was no longer the bottleneck. I think that was a big shift, right? So I think the big shift that you make when you go from CEO to owner is that rather than just relying solely on your capabilities, you are investing in the capabilities of others. And we brought in people that could do it way better than I could, still maintain the ethos, still maintain the culture, still even raise the standards, quite frankly. But now it wasn't so much dependent on just you and me. I mean, we carried it to a certain point.
Yes.
But now we're working with thousands of firms. Now we're growing and scaling.
Yeah.
And you think, where could you apply the most leverage? And that is in the vision. And as we're innovating, like last year, for example, we like innovated every aspect of our entire ecosystem. Like over 24 innovations across video, across marketing, across coaching, across recruiting, across all those different areas and aspects of the ecosystem, that everything from AI enablement to other things we talked about at the members only conference we can't share on the podcast. But future looks bright. So I look at it as my role has shifted a lot from grit to judgment, in the sense that who are the people, like you're picking the players on your team, the leadership team, et cetera. And then you are essentially giving them accountability, autonomy to be able to make decisions where you have leaders creating other leaders. And this is really the only way for it to scale. I said at the beginning of the podcast where, when I meet a founder, they're like, oh, I work so hard, I'm the hardest worker and so on. But that used to be me. And that got us to a certain point. But at a certain point, that also becomes the bottleneck. And that's what prevents progress from being made. And that I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know what I didn't know. At every stage of the business was as far as I'd ever gone.
Correct.
Right? So as we were scaling from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures to 9 figures, at each of those different levels, that required a lot of organizational change. That required just us to level up in so many ways and raise standards in so many ways. I've been thinking what else happened during that time. So the members only summits, we trying to transition from like these big, huge conferences, Super Bowl stadiums, to private events for our clients, right? Because those are the ones we enjoyed the most. And it was just this intimate setting where you could reward people in the Chris community by hosting an event where essentially by not being open to the public, it wasn't just about who was in the room, it was about who was not in the room. You could really control that experience and have the most like entrepreneurial mindsets, those that were really all about like giving rather than taking. And it's just the level of energy, like the more exclusive you make something, the better it can be. Truly, you can get better speakers, you can have a higher level of experience, the food got better. Every element of it improved because we weren't trying to cater to two audiences, those who are with Chris, but those who don't know about Chris, right? And I don't have to tell the origin story to our existing clients. Like we could talk about like what's next, right? And you can bring in speakers from various industries. Like you don't have to like sell yourself anymore. So I think there's that piece. We obviously launched the recruiting offering. So that, that's obviously been a huge boom of being able to like, not just, coach you on here's how you hire your team, right? The hiring process, but we'll do it for you. We'll help you get A players. And that's the number one thing that can really scale a firm. In some respects, I kind of, I don't know, you guys don't love when I say this, but it's the truth. I kind of don't do anything anymore, right? Not in the sense of like nothing, but like what feels like work, right? So like, I still come in all the time, but out of 60 plus workshops, I may host 3. We still do the podcast, which I enjoy, and I still meet with our leaders and so on. But for the most part, what I mean by that is like nothing is dependent on me, right? Meaning that if I'm not here, everything still gets done.
Yes.
And now look, it only took us 5,000 days to get to that point, like 13 plus years. But that's also enabled the business to really scale without its dependency. And that's what we coach law firms on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, the value of your business is inversely proportional to its dependency on you. The more your firm depends on you, the less valuable it is. Like if something happened to you, if you were, you're in court, if you want to go on vacation, like if you really want to create true freedom, right? Then you create a business that's not dependent on you for the day to day. Now you can still be involved. You can still be driving strategy. You can still be driving innovation. I'm still involved with every single leadership hire we make. Right?
Yeah, I think it's really just coming to, like you're doing the things you want to do, the things that excite you.
Yes.
Yeah. And you cut all the other stuff.
And I get to do that, and I get to be home in time for like working with our daughter, her training, right? And tutoring future entrepreneur, maybe. The point is that you can do that, and you can train for multiple triathlons. You can kind of build a life, right? That enables you to do the things that you love and while also taking care of everybody around you. Now, and that's not possible unless you have like over 100 incredible committed people. We've built amazing systems. We have incredible clients. And to me, it's never been more exciting.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's the big thing. This is coming from the guy who used to like sell the videos, shoot the videos, edit the videos, project manage the videos, run the payroll. Like, I mean, every single role in this business I've done, right? And if that's your goal, you're listening, you're saying, oh, I want to do that forever. Well, maybe you could scale your ambition beyond that. Let me just put it that way, right? And imagine you found someone who loves to do the things that you hate, and that frees you up to do the things that you love, and think about the impact that you can make as you scale. So that's where we're at now. It's all about the future, innovation. How do we level up the experience? How do we do things better? And we're in a way better place than we've ever been. I mean, I can say it, I guess. I'm proud of this. So however someone wants to take this, they can take this. But like we have zero debt on the business. We own 100% of it. Like, we don't have to do anything we don't want to do. We're able to, like, we're well resourced. We can invest in hiring the people we want. And it's just because of all those lessons learned over the last 13 plus years. Before, we were just like this David versus Goliath type thing where you were just trying to find a way to differentiate and stand out. And now it's not just how do you stay on top, but it's like, how do you continue to grow, scale, innovate, and always lead future forward? And you can really start to be that example, because I think that's really why our clients choose to work with us. Like, they want to see that progress. They want to see that evolution. If they saw Michael still in the dental office in the back operatory working 110 hours a week, I don't know if that would build confidence. If they saw this like stressed out, exhausted, overweight guy huffing and puffing and so on, like, I don't know that would be a leader worth following. So you want to model those types of behaviors and to show that is possible. And this is where it starts to get a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. This was actually really fun. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on our little walk down memory lane for these last 5,000 days. And here are to the next 5,000.
Next 5,000. Next time, 10,000.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Game Changing Attorney podcast with Michael Mogill. If you found this episode valuable, here are 3 free ways that we can help you grow your law firm. Number 1, download the first chapter of Michael's book absolutely free at gamechangingattorney.com. Number 2, you can shoot Michael a text at 404-531-7691 and ask him any question you'd like. You might just hear the answer on the next episode. And finally, number 3, if you can leave this podcast a 5-star review, it will help us gain access to more influential thought leaders and bring their lessons learned here to you. For more information on this episode, see the show notes in your podcast app or visit legalpodcast.com.